One of the best feelings is when you go back to watch a movie you remember fondly from your childhood and you come to find that it still holds up all these years later. Even after the removal of those nostalgia goggles, the movie is still as funny, memorable, and enjoyable as it was all those years ago. A few examples of this spring to mind: Polar Express, Kronk's New Groove, the Fred trilogy. That's a guilty pleasure, okay? But to me, the most prominent example is 2005's Hoodwinked. Hoodwinked is a spin-off of the classic tale Little Red Riding Hood, where every predominant character, i.e. the Red, the Wolf, Granny, and the Axeman, get to tell their side of the story as to what happened in Granny's house, due to them being suspects of the Goody Bandit, a thief who is stealing every baker's recipes, forcing them all to close up shop. By the end of it, the bandit is captured and our four heroes can go on with their lives in the forest. I love this twist on the classic tale of Little Red Riding Hood. It has such a cool layer of depth to the characters that wouldn't have been there otherwise if it just relayed the same story of Red going to Granny's. Each character is given enough time to be genuinely fleshed out, and all their personalities are changed where they're the complete opposite of their original interpretations. Red isn't some helpless little girl. The Wolf is just an investigative journalist, which explains why he's following Red. Granny is an active extreme sports competitor, and the Axeman is actually just a schnitzel truck driver who only chops down trees for an acting gig. It makes these otherwise generic characters all the more interesting and fun to watch. Also, the Wolf is played by Patrick Warburton, and he does as great a job as ever. There's also a twist that without paying good enough attention, you won't be able to guess before it's revealed, and it makes for some pretty decent shock value if you aren't able to figure out what it is. Overall, the plot is great, and there's never a point in the movie you'll be bored watching it. The change to the classic tale and the twist towards the end go a long way in making this movie all the more better. It's also written incredibly well. I mean, way better than you'd ever give it credit for. The jokes are extremely well executed with setups, punchlines. There's next to no lowbrow humor, which so many writers for kids movies seem to use as a crutch, just so they don't have to write real jokes. In terms of humor, this movie has it all. Verbal, visual, comedic timing, delivery. They even managed to make this high-pitched voice chipmunk knockoff character named Twitchy funny. I guarantee you there will be at least one joke that will make you laugh out loud. Even the action is fun to watch, and it works itself into the plot quite nicely. No action scene will feel shoehorned in or put in there just to give the younger audiences something to look at. There's even a martial arts fight between two characters, and even that has a reason for happening. Granny competes in a ski race, which has a ton of cool little moments. You wouldn't think that this movie would have these kinds of scenes, but it does. And it does them well. This movie, for some reason, also has a really good soundtrack. Original soundtrack, might I add. Even if you haven't seen this movie, you'll likely have heard of the Schnitzel song. That one's great. The yodeling goat sings a great tune. The villain gets a song explaining his evil plan. All the songs are memorable, and just like the action, don't feel shoehorned in. You won't get the feeling of, oh, I guess this is happening, when a character does break out in song, because it fits the theme. The only negative I can really think of is the animation. This movie is from 2005. Good lord, this movie is 15 years old. Jeez. The budget was only $15 million. That's less than Food Fight, so explains why the animation looks less than decent. It's not unwatchable by any means, and it's not really a fault of the movie, but even so, it does look like a cutscene ripped right out from a PS2 game. Other than that, overall, this movie is great. Seriously, it's unironically good, and underrated too. There's very middling scores of this film, which I feel don't ring true. There's a ton of upside to this movie. Like I said, great jokes, memorable music, shockingly fun action, and some pretty emotional scenes as well. Even with this movie being completely for kids in premise and tone, I can still watch it anytime and have a total blast doing so. There's just a ton of stuff to like about this movie, and I guarantee you'll find something about it to like as well. And that is why Hoodwinked is criminally underrated. And with that all said, I'm Easily Easy, and I'll see you next time.